Hello everyone, the election night is here. Results trickling in for several races across the state. A lot of major races to get to, and we have you covered tonight.
We're in Gainesville and Atlanta tracking the governor's race and around central Georgia, keeping tabs on local races. We'll also have analysis for some of those major races. We start with the state's highest ranking position. Governor on the Republican side, Casey Cagle and Brian Kemp are headed to a runoff. Cagle nearly with 40%, Kemp right about 26%, but nowhere near the 50% that they need to win outright. Suzanne Lawler live in Gainesville with the Cagle campaign. She starts our team coverage.
Things are winding down in this rustic industrial setting tonight. I'll tell you, the campaign signs are coming down off the wall right now. About 10:30 tonight, Casey Cagle took to the stage and conceded the runoff. He also used the time to just go over his platform again, and that does include bringing 500,000 jobs to Georgia in the next 4 years if elected. But he also talked about things that could affect central Georgia.
Know the challenges by which we face, and there's certainly infrastructure challenges that we're going to put a 10-year strategic plan in place. We're going to build out rural broadband across our state. We're going to help make sure that we help those the hospitals in rural Georgia that are failing, and we're going to lower insurance rates for citizens all across the state as it relates to health care. I can promise you.
So Cagle told his supporters over the next 9 weeks he's going to be crisscrossing the state, of course, bringing his message to Georgians. But tomorrow, yeah, there's going to be a slight break, not because of all the festivities tonight, but because it's his wife's birthday. They're going to do a little celebrating. Reporting in Gainesville, Suzanne Lawler, 13 WMAZ News.
Thank you, Suzanne.
On the Democratic side, there will not be a runoff. Stacey Abrams easily defeated. Stacey Evans receiving 76% of the vote.
Zach Merchant continues our team coverage from Abrams' Watch Party live in Atlanta.
Guys, for Stacey Abrams supporters in the room tonight was a good night. After Abrams defeated Democratic rival Stacey Evans by a wide margin, she's now headed to the general election where she has a chance to become not only the state's but the nation's first black female governor. And in her acceptance speech to supporters on this stage here behind us, she told supporters a little bit about what the rest of her campaign is going to focus on. She told those supporters that she's going to work to make sure all families have access to living wages. She's going to work to strengthen trade unions in Georgia and expand the state's economy with industries like renewable energy. She also told those supporters that she's going to work to repeal campus carry laws and expand the Hope Scholarship, drawing loud rounds of applause for both of those comments. But she did caution those supporters that although tonight's step is a step in the right direction with a primary victory, it's only one step. She says this general election fight will be a tough one.
And if we fight, if we push, if we work, we will win. And so tonight I say thank you all. Now let's go get it done.
As the crowd filters out of the room here in Atlanta for Abrams supporters, it's almost all smiles as a candidate gears up to face either Brian Kemp or Casey Cagle in that November general election. Live in Atlanta, Zach Merchant, 13 WMAZ News.
Thanks so much, Zach. And we're taking a closer look at the election results for governor. I want to bring in our own Randall Savage and Georgia College political science professor Cliff Wilkinson. One more election, gentlemen, on the Republican side before the general election in the fall. Now, Brian Kemp, he had some very eye-catching ads this time around. Randall, going into the runoff and possibly into the general election, do you still use those ads? What's the strategy?
I think he stays on target. No pun intended there. but I think he stays on message. He's going to try to reach his conservative base, and so is Cagle. Okay. The two of them will be going for the conservative base. Brian, some said he got a little out in right field there with some of his ads later on, but his poll numbers kicked up when he started doing that. So as the old football coach Bear Bryant used to say, he's going to go what brung him.
Yeah, right. Well, Professor Wilkinson, now for Stacey Abrams making history tonight, African-American woman on the Democratic side of this ticket. What's her message? How's she crafting things as she goes forward?
I don't know that she necessarily would change that message. However, the primary is much different than the general election. Most of the time you look to try to gain some support from, those independents and some members of the other party. But what Abrams is really trying to accomplish is getting newer voters, getting more Democrats to turn out. And if we look at those total numbers, what she's hoping to be able to do is get a lot of new voters to vote Democrat.
All right, certainly a lot more work to do, and of course this is a race that's really being watched on the national stage as well. Gentlemen, I'm going to have you stand by. We're going to talk a little bit more, but I want to go ahead and take a look at our next race coming up. We are talking about the Bibb County Commission seat, District 1, pardon me. Lynn Wood at this point has 54% of the vote to Valerie Wynn's 38%. There were 3 candidates running for the District 1 seat. So far, as we see, Lynn Wood has 54%, avoiding a runoff that's potentially, because we only have 75% of the precincts reporting. So Mary Grace Shaw, she is following this race, and she continues our team coverage live from the Board of Elections.
Yeah, Lori, right now we only have 3 of the 4 precincts in. We're waiting for that 4th one. They're actually coming out to tell us right now, and it's a runoff. I have just been told between Lynn Wood and it looks like Valerie Wynn. So we will be having a runoff, and I'll make sure to go and talk to both of them to see what they have to say about this, get a reaction, see what plans they have for the county, especially with a big Bibb budget discussion and vote coming up in just a few weeks. So I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on that and have more information coming. Back to you in the studio, Lori.
Thank you so much, Mary Grace Shaw, reporting live. Wow, so that kind of throws a kink into the problem here, because it looks like we're heading for a runoff, but Bibb County has a lot of financial challenges, plus a deadline to approve a budget by June 30th. So, Randall, where do they go from here?
They keep campaigning. I don't think they'll be July 24th at the runoff time.
Right.
So they won't be seated by the time the budget is approved, so they'll keep campaigning. No doubt they'll sit in on the commission meetings to stay abreast of what's going on, and they'll keep a close eye on that audit that they're talking about.
Right, and this is going to be interesting because we're talking about District 1 potentially not having any representation for this upcoming budget vote. Is that problematic?
Only to break a tie. There's still 8 commissioners, and if you get a majority of the commissioners to vote it, to approve it, it could get approved. Or they could shoot it down and they had to have something by July
the end
1st.
of, that's right.
Yeah, but if it gets to be more controversial, it gives them considerable campaign fodder to use, maybe to help with the election.
That's true. Okay. Stay tuned for that one. Okay. And now that commission seat again was left open, with Gary Bechtel leaving to run for House Seat 141. Now that seat was previously held by Alan Peake. So far, Dale Washburn leads, but 2 candidates are in with, 28 and 25% of the vote. That's Todd Tolbert and Gary Bechtel. And Chelsea Bimeford, she is following this race. She continues our team coverage. She joins us now live.
Yeah, Lori, right now with about 50% of the precinct supporting Dale Washburn, is currently winning with about 31% of the vote. As you can tell, his family and friends and supporters out here are very excited. Mr. Washburn, tell us a little bit about how you felt tonight, what's been going on.
Well, we're delighted to be in the lead, of course, and I'm very honored for the votes that were cast for us. I'm very grateful to all our supporters. We've had so many people work so hard, and so we're excited at this point.
We've got about half reporting, but it looks like it could go into a runoff, so what are your plans to continue campaigning if that is the case?
Well, if it does go into a runoff, we look forward to competing with whoever the other candidate is, and we continue to carry our message of conservative Republican philosophy of less government, lower taxes. And we look forward to that with whoever the other candidate is. And we're just very grateful to the voters tonight and honored to be in this position.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And everyone, there we go. There we go. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Chelsea Bime, for reporting live. So we do have this, it looks like it potentially could go for a runoff, July 24th. What is the message between now and then, Randall?
The same one they've been preaching as well. They want to talk about tax cuts where they can, and primarily getting their feet on the ground so that in January when they'd take the seat, that they'd be able to move forward.
Now, Professor Wilkinson, we talked about this. When you're the new kid on the block in the State House, not the easiest position to be in.
No, you're one of 180. Not only are you the new kid on the block, but you really haven't developed necessarily political power within the body yet. That's where, if you have the ability, maybe to take some of Alan Peake's, some of those initiatives that he did in the past, you may be able to gain some activity within the General Assembly from that. But you really are, just a new person, newcomer, and having to work hard to gain that political power.
So it's kind of like when you campaign, that's one part of the game, and then governing, that's completely different.
It is totally different. It can help when you're gaining from your constituents. Maybe some issues that are important to them, that you can carry that on to Atlanta.
Gentlemen, we really appreciate your time, giving us your analysis and expertise for this election, and we will see you back in November.
Thank you.
Frank, back over to you now.
Thanks, Lori. The House 144 seat previously held by Bubba Rapps up for grabs. On the Republican side, Danny Mathis appears en route to victory, moving on to November, defeating Trey Ennis and Milton Sampson. On the Democratic side, looks like a runoff. Jessica Walden in the lead right now, but Gregory Odoms and Marianne Whippaloo are running neck and neck for that second spot. Again, 72% of the precincts reporting there. Here's what the frontrunner, Jessica Walden, told us tonight.
And that is everything from access to how are we going to pay for it. So that is something I hear a lot. We're in a rural area. This is a rural district. And these are concerns that have been around for a really long time now.
Here's a look at the Bibb County Board of Education at-large post. That is post 8 right now. Wanda West is the incumbent. A close race, but Lisa Garrett is winning that one. House and County Board of Education, District 2, Lori Johnson and Tawanda Ellis would appear headed to a runoff in this race. And post 6 at large, Hoke Morrow close to that 50%, not quite there yet. T-Splost in Bibb County, almost a dead heat. The no votes winning by about 23 votes right there. That is the Bibb County T-Splost vote right there. And it looks like 23 votes separating no and yes. Right now, no's are in the lead in that particular race.